Have you been looking for the hottest community here in Jacksonville? Well, guess what? I have it for you today, and we're about to check out this model home right behind me, and you are gonna be absolutely shocked with some of the features the builder put in this home and what they can do for you in this specific neighborhood. So with that being said, let's check out this home, and I'm also gonna go over just where we're at today and why this is the hottest community to move to right now in Jacksonville, Florida. So let's start off this beautiful home tour. And right away, I want to just mention how the builder did a nice paver driveway here and walkway. That is something that is a lot of times going to be an upgrade. And in this case, the builder probably does have this as an upgrade, but if you want to know exactly if it was or wasn't, reach out to me with a call, text, email, we'll go over all of that. But in addition, I love some of the finishes that the builder chose to go with here. You know, they did use a lot of that hardy board that we're used to seeing with a lot of the model homes, a lot of the homes in general here in Jacksonville, Northeast Florida. But they did include some brick elements here with the columns, just to kind of change it up some, add some lighter color, and give us more of that, you know, coastal farmhouse look that we're starting to see a lot more here. In addition, we do have a nice, good sized front porch, which is a very usable front porch, which is not always the case. So I do like seeing that as well. Then it's gonna take us into our home. So as you can see, we have, you know, this nice tall glass door. Takes us into our foyer, which as you come in, you're gonna notice right away, we do have a nice 20-foot opening here. Makes the space feel much larger when you first come in, and really just definitely accentuates the space, you know, for, you know, when you have friends or family over. All right, so now we're gonna come into the dedicated office. And what I love about, you know, this floor plan is having the office here in the front. You know, it really does give you some nice separation. You know, obviously if you have kids, they could be upstairs. You know, your primary is downstairs, which we'll get to momentarily. But this gives you a great space to be able to work from. The builder currently has left it open, but for instance, if you wanted to have like French doors here, or you wanted to close it off, make it more of a dedicated, you know, office space, you definitely probably could. In addition, there most likely is an ability to make this an additional bedroom if you desired. So that's the beauty of a builder like this and a floor plan like this, is you have a lot of different options on how you can utilize it to fit your family's wants and needs. In addition, as we're here, and obviously you can see who the builder is, they are a local builder, you know, really great to work with. I do love the fact that we have a lot of local builders here that, you know, do an amazing job with their homes. But in addition, I love the fact that they actually did some beams in here, you know, kind of breaks up that ceiling a little bit, changes the aesthetic of it some. And so I do like when builders do stuff like that, because it's just different. Not saying something that you would want to do, but it's cool to get an idea of what you could do if you desired that. So overall, you get tons of natural light with this room as well, with the multiple windows overlooking your front porch. So it's just a great utilization of the space through and through. In addition, as we go through the rest of the house, you're gonna see some additional features that I think you'll fall in love with. So let's keep that going now. So moving on from the from the office, we're now gonna come to our laundry room here. And what's nice about this space is the builder does give us a bit of a drop zone over here. So we do have an area, you know, in the mud room where you come in from your garage. You have that ability to take your shoes off before you come in the rest of the house. You know, for your kids, they can put their backpacks on the hooks. And that is something that, again, you know, there's probably some different variations to what you can do with that space. So if you want to know, you know, what those variations look like, do reach out to me with a call, a text, an email. Happy to help go over all that. But it's nice when a builder can give you that so you can visualize it on what you can do to make it kind of your own space as well. Then we come into the laundry room, and right away, I absolutely love what the builder did here. You're not always gonna see that backsplash in the laundry room. Again, that is definitely going to be an upgrade. But if you're trying to, again, maximize that space, if you're trying to really, you know, have a showpiece in a sense, doing something like this with this backsplash, whether if you do it with the builder after the fact, can go a long way to really maximize it and really make it, you know, pop to people when they're visiting, or even for you on a day-to-day basis. Because again, you wanna enjoy where you live. In addition, we do have the washer dryer here. The builder did give us tons of cabinetry up top, which again is most likely going to be an upgrade. You do have that ability to do a sink in here as well, which not every floor plan will always give you that. So I love when I see that, just because it gives you an idea of, you know, what you can do. And as far as the tile floor, I do like this more elongated tile that they chose here. You know, they could have kept that engineered hardwood look like they have in the rest of the home, but they actually went more that tile, which I think is a great, you know, use for this kind of space, because it's gonna be a lot of foot traffic when you're coming in from your garage, you know, when you're coming in from the outside. So having, you know, a little bit more of a, you know, harder floor in a sense with the tile, slightly maybe easier to clean, I think is a great way to kind of utilize it to its best ability. This is obviously gonna take you out to your garage. Not too much to see there, pretty standard as far as that's concerned. And then as we continue to move forward, we then get to our stairwell going to our second floor. So the things that I like here that the builder did, we do have that open railing. Again, that's one of those things that, could you do after the fact? You could, but it makes a lot more sense to do with the builder if it's something that you want, because to be quite honest, it's a much more of a mess doing after the fact. It's a lot more of a headache. And typically the cost to do something like this, it makes it to where it's almost a no-brainer to do with the builder while you're having your home built. So again, that's gonna be your open stairwell on the first floor, as well as your second floor, which you'll see as we go upstairs. They also did do the wood tread here, and with this tread, they did match it up to those engineered hardwood floors. So again, I just like when it all, has that continuation. And again, a lot of times the standard for a lot of these builders will be carpeted stairs. Maybe it's something that you would want, maybe it's not what you want, but I would definitely always look into upgrading that if you don't want the carpet, because that's another one of those things where it can be a bit more of a pain to do after the fact. That being said, let's now go upstairs and check out what it has to offer. And again, we have a lot more to see, so stay tuned. Now that we're upstairs, obviously I just want to highlight, the view from up here. Having these wood beams, it just makes a huge difference. Obviously, we're going to talk about it more downstairs as well, but between these wood beams, the crown molding, the tray ceiling, all that recessed lighting, the windows in the back wall of this house, I mean, it just really epitomizes luxury. And really just gives you just a great feel because it keeps everything so natural across the board, not just from downstairs, but also upstairs. Then as we come in, we turn the corner, we're gonna get to our first bedroom here. Now this first bedroom, as you can see, we do have the one window. It's a very good size overall. We do still have up here, by the way, 9-foot ceilings. A lot of times when you come up to the second story of a home, you may not always get 9-foot ceilings. Sometimes they'll get dropped down to 8. So the fact that the builder was able to do that and keep these at 9 really does just show that the builder cares about you as the consumer, and they want to give you the best product possible. So again, that's going to typically be a standard with a builder like this. Things that could be an upgrade could be the casing around the windows though. Something that I do like to bring up, and there's going to be things I bring up throughout this video that, it's not to say it's a negative, it's just more to give you as the audience the understanding of, what's a standard here in Jacksonville, Florida with the builders versus what sometimes can be an upgrade. And sometimes casing around that window, having that wood trim around the window over there, and that's just one window for reference as an example. Sometimes that can be an upgrade if you want it done with a builder versus their standard could just be just the drywall casing that's, fairly, like I said, standard. In addition, we do have our sliding doors here, which I do appreciate. I do like seeing that a lot more than seeing the bifolds, because they just don't break as often. And then it's going to take us to our Jack and Jill bathroom up here. So as you'll see with this Jack and Jill, we do have our shower tub combo. I actually really like the tile they chose here, not necessarily because of the tile design. It is a very standard subway tile. They just kind of boxed it in, but I like it because it has a lot of blues in it and really blends well with the tile floor that has some of that, almost floral kind of pattern with the blues. At least it looks floral to me. And I just love that because when you live in Jacksonville, you're going to be close to the water, whether if it's the St. Johns River, if it's the Atlantic Ocean, the Intercoastal Waterway. And so having the blues incorporated to kind of go with that beachy coastal nature, I personally love, because I'm a big person when it comes to fishing, when it comes to going to the beach, when it comes to being outside. So I appreciate when a builder kind of incorporates some of those color choices into their design, because it shows that they have a lot of appreciation for a lot of those same things, which also could be a lot of the same reasons as far as why you're thinking about moving here to Jacksonville, Florida. Now we're into bedroom number 2. Again, we do have some recessed lighting in these bedrooms. The recessed lighting is typically going to be an upgrade, something that you may decide that you want in some bedrooms, like the primary, but maybe not in all the bedrooms. Again, if you want to know more on what may make the most sense for you and your family, I can go over all that with you. You just have to call me, text me, email me, or in the description of this video will be a link to my calendar where you can set a time for us to meet face-to-face or through Zoom. But this bedroom is a very similar size to the first one. And again, it really does fit the needs of, if you have someone who has young kids or even kids that are in, say, middle school, high school, it definitely does give them everything they need, in my opinion. Over here is going to be one of our AC closets. So again, very standard. There's a little bit of storage in there as well. And then it's going to take us back to the rest of our second floor, starting with this loft right behind me. Now with this loft area, this is, in my opinion, just a great utilization of the space by the builder. This could potentially be, again, maybe an ability to do another bedroom with it if you needed it, because this floor plan can allow up to 6 bedrooms, which we will kind of go over the floor plan and what else it can allow later on in this video, so just stay tuned. But things that I love with this is you do have that tray ceiling in here. Again, they continue all that crown molding, which, you know, the thing about a builder like this is they definitely, you know, try to provide that custom or semi-custom experience to you as the homeowner. So you're gonna see a lot of that in their model. You're also gonna see a lot of that potentially, you know, with your home when you choose to build with a builder like this. But this loft space makes a great space for if you have kids, for them to have their own space. You know, if they have friends over, which this is gonna be a very kid-dominant neighborhood potentially, once it's all said and done with where it's located. You know, again, this gives a space for them to be able to have their friends over and just an ability to kind of be off on their own a little bit. It allows you to keep your downstairs living room, you know, the heart of the home, you know, really the way you want to have it designed and keep it as a pristine condition as possible. Then off of this loft, we actually do have a, you know, more of like a little office space again for the kids. Now, this could potentially be, if that ends up being a bedroom, if that's what you want, this could be your walk-in closet. And again, that's the cool thing about a home like this is there's so many different ways to slice and dice it to fit what your family's wants and needs really are. I also love the fact that we do have some windows in here. You know, these are solid windows, but they allow for natural light. And they actually blend very well with this, you know, white, you know, greenish wallpaper, which I am not always a huge fan of the green. So I'd love to know your thoughts on if you like that kind of green look or the wallpaper in general. But overall, it is a great look the way it all kind of blends together. So even though I don't typically like green as much as I do like, say, the blues, this is really growing on me more than I would have ever thought. And it blends very well too with that cabinetry. And that gold hardware really pops as well. And we're seeing a lot more of that gold hardware used across the board. You know, just it's one of those things kind of come and go. You know, things go out of style, they come back in style. Gold hardware, wallpaper, laminate flooring even. You know, it's crazy, but a lot of those things are starting to come back in, and they're even better now than they ever were before. Next, we have our second bathroom upstairs. Now, this bathroom is gonna be more for this dedicated bedroom behind me, but overall, as you can see with this bathroom, this one is designed to kind of give you an idea of some of the standards that the builder, you know, does with their homes. So again, these are things that you may want to upgrade, but in general, some of these standards you're going to see are that thinner quartz countertop, the cabinetry that doesn't necessarily go all the way to each other. You know, not necessarily a bad thing, but just like to always bring it up. And then the tile too. You know, the tile still goes up to the ceiling, but it's a more standardized tile, so to speak, with it being that white tile. So just things I like to bring up because I actually like when the builder gives you an idea of, okay, here's what the standards look like, so you can compare it to what some of the upgrades look like. Because a lot of times with these models are gonna have tons of upgrades within them. And you're gonna see a lot of those throughout this video. You've already seen some of those so far. So it's not to say that you're gonna want it exactly like the model, maybe you do, but if you don't want it exactly like the model, at least you kind of know what you're starting with. Then we get to bed number 3 upstairs. So with this bedroom, we do still have tons of natural light. Again, we still have that 9-foot ceiling, the recessed lights, which is gonna be an upgrade. And then again, we do also have that sliding door for our standard closet. So overall, these 3 bedrooms, here's the beauty of it. If you have kids and they're fighting over which bedroom is better than the other, these are all pretty much the same. So there's not really, you know, one's better than the other. So, you know, less fighting can occur. The only difference is I guess this bedroom gets its own bathroom, but it does share with the loft. So overall though, I do love the way this second floor is laid out. It just makes a ton of sense. You know, it's a very livable kind of layout. And the reason I bring that up is because sometimes you see these layouts and they look cool on video. They look cool maybe in person, but do they fit what you and your family, and by the way, second AC closet up here, but do they fit what you and your family would need on a day-to-day basis? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but this one I think definitely does that. So now we're gonna go back downstairs and we're gonna get to the areas of the house that I know you've been dying to see, such as the primary bedroom as well as the kitchen and living room. So without wasting any more time, let's get back down there and show you just what else this home has to offer. So now that we're back downstairs, let's now check out this beautiful primary bedroom. So what I like about this primary bedroom is, one, it's downstairs, because I'm not much of a stairs person. So if it's my house, I wanna make sure that it's down here. But two, it has a great feel to it, and you really feel like it's its own wing of the house. So starting off, you come in, you have a his and her closets, or as I will joke sometimes, a hers and hers. Sometimes his ends up being in a different bedroom, closet. But as you can see, the builder did some custom closets in here, which is going to be an upgrade, but I like when the builder does do that for the purposes of when you're watching this online, because it gives you an idea of what you could do with the space, whether if you do it with the builder or you do it after the fact. Then it brings us to our primary bedroom, and my God, I absolutely love this primary. The amount of natural light you get here is absolutely stunning. Obviously this one backs up to a lake, so you're not gonna have anyone behind you, which just adds to that natural beauty of it. But on top of having all that natural light, we also get a tray ceiling in here, which again, if you know me, you know I like my trays. And what I like the builder did here is they did do the recessed lighting. This is a space that I think it makes a lot of sense to do that with. And they also did a wood inlay in here, so it just helps break up that monotony of just that drywall knockdown ceiling by kind of changing it up with some wood inlays in it as well, and it changes the color some too. But this is a great size space. You have nightstands on each side, you have that king size bed, we have our dresser off to the side here as well, and you even do get a door to access your backyard, which if you have a backyard like this house has, which you may see some of it currently in this video, but again, you are not going to miss that, so it will be discussed later in this video and you will see more of it. There's a reason why you're gonna want that door there. So all in all, just a great utilization of this space, and you really do feel like this is a true retreat that you can come to every night or every day and just enjoy where you live. But there's more still, because again, this is just the primary bedroom. We still have more to see. We are now gonna come across the other way, and we are going to now check out that primary ensuite. So this primary ensuite, as we come in, just wow, right? You have his and her cabinets, we have or vanities. This one obviously is the hers. You have a little makeup station, you have tons of countertop space, and I love the quartz that's used in it, because it really does pair super well with those brown cabinets. And again, going off of what I was mentioning upstairs, you can see here that those upgraded cabinets, they go end to end, whereas the standard, you do have that separation in the middle. So I like to always kind of explain what I'm talking about as far as that's concerned. Then we have his vanity on that side as well. We have the sconces as well too, which is an upgrade, but something that's kind of cool if you want to do. And then you get this nice oversized standalone tub. Overlooks your window, which you could definitely tint if you wanted to, or add some sort of screening on it. But again, just really epitomizes luxury. I also really like this tile pattern. It's almost kind of like a checkered tile, but it's not your typical black and white checkered. And they definitely did a cool design with this where they did angle it. It's that really large 36-inch tile. So it just really, sometimes it's bigger tile nowadays, it just really pops when you come into the space. Then we get to my favorite part of this bathroom, which is that primary shower. So this shower, is massive. You have the double heads for, the double shower heads there. You have the step down, so all that water is gonna stay inside the space. You also have that seamless glass enclosure. And you may ask, well, why doesn't the glass go to the ceiling? Well, because we need to be able to let that heat, that steam, come out, so that way it doesn't stay in the space longer than it should. In addition, we do have that subway tile that's utilized for the walls of the space. They did do a lighter color, not necessarily a subway, more of a square tile down below, so a little bit of an offset there, but it blends very well. And I actually like how mature this comes off and just how simplistic it comes off as well. Sometimes you can do too much with the space, if you ask me. And again, you give a little bit of the bench there to be able to sit. You also have a ledge here for your soaps, your shampoos, your whatever the case may be. So all in all, just a great utilization of the space. And I like how massive it is. It really is a shower that, if you both need to shower, you have them to do that. We also do have our water closet off to the side here with its own door. And if you want to be able to close this off, let's say the other person is sleeping, we do have the pocket door here as well. So if you need to close it off, you could. With that being said, let's now check out that living room and kitchen. So now we are gonna head out to the living room, which I personally love this space of the house. That's why I wanna kind of save it for later. But as we come to this living room, right away, you're gonna see we have these 20-foot ceilings with that tray ceiling. Again, you already saw upstairs as well, but I mean, just that height, it just really maximizes the space. It really makes it feel grand, which that's always the goal when you're buying a house is, once you have that grand feel, a lot of times it's hard to go away from it. In addition here, we do have our electric fireplace. So this electric fireplace, it's a cool aesthetic there. If you want to have gas, you could do that as well because this is a gas community. But this fireplace too, they actually continued this textured look with this wallpaper up to the ceiling as well. So it really makes it stand out, really makes it a focal point of your living room. So it's a great size space, great features layered throughout. And then it's gonna now take us to our kitchen, which I love the fact that the kitchen overlooks the living room because it really ties everything in nicely together. Now with the kitchen here, obviously you can see we have a nice size island that overlooks your living room. So with this island, they did a very simplistic, white quartz countertop. Keep in mind, quartz is going to be a standard finish for this builder, which I do absolutely love. In addition, as you can see here, we do have our 5-burner gas cooktop with our vented hood up top. Again, being a gas community, you're going to have gas there. And keep in mind, not every community is going to have gas. So if you want to know which communities have gas, which don't, reach out to me with a call, a text, an email. But the good part is if you want new construction, most new construction tends to have gas appliances, in communities overall. I also like too that they did the black quartz to offset that white quartz. So we have a little bit of a two-tone with the different colored quartzes. Again, that gold hardware really stands out. They did also do soft close cabinets as well with it. And they did do the cabinets up to the ceiling, which is going to a lot of times be an upgrade, but definitely worth doing if it's something that you would want with your home. In addition, we have our double oven right here. And then it takes us into our pantry. And this is a very oversized pantry the way it's designed. So this pantry here, we do have our first half of the pantry, which this first half, we have our quartz countertops, a different kind of quartz than what the island was, has a little bit more pattern to it. The cabinets in this case don't go up to the ceiling, but same cabinets as what we have in the kitchen. We even have a little wine cooler here. So if you're someone who likes to have wine, you could definitely put that in there as well. And then it's gonna take us to the rest of our pantry where we have some custom storage options in here. Again, so that would probably be an upgrade with the builder, but it does kind of show you what you can do to help maximize and utilize the space, which we always love to see. So it gives you an idea of what you can do with it if you wanted to. And then I would be remiss not to bring up this wallpaper, which I actually really like. Again, I'm not a huge wallpaper person, but I love what they did here with this wallpaper. It really just helps add some color, add some more floral elements to the space as well. So then off of our kitchen here, we're gonna have our dining room and we're gonna have a half bath. So the half bath, this is gonna be for your guest. And again, it's great to have a space like this. I do really like the finishes they did in here as well. Again, a lot of greens, a lot of blues, a lot of greens, just very floral, very, native feeling, just overall, light and bright, just really helps, maximize the space and really helps give you that feel of what it's like to live here in Jacksonville, Florida. Then the dining room off of here, this dining room, as you can see, is a 6-seater table. You could obviously do a much bigger table if you wanted to. You could do a square table, a rectangular table. But again, good size space. And I do like the fact that they did do the tray ceiling in here. They do have to replace one light, no big deal. But with this tray, we do have the crown molding with it as well. And then I also love the fact that you have all these sliding glass doors, so you get tons of natural light when you're back here as well. So you never feel like it's dark or gloomy. It just has a great look and feel across the board. That being said, let's now go outside because that's one of the best features of this house that I want to show you right now. All right, now we're gonna get to the part of the house that I absolutely love, and that is going to be our backyard. And you're gonna see why in a second, but starting off, we have this beautiful oversized covered back porch. This is a back porch that you could screen in if you wanted to. The builder in this case, they did leave it unscreened just so that way it keeps it more open to the rest of the yard. But again, if you're someone who doesn't want to deal with flies or just wants to be able to have it to where maybe you feel like you can utilize it year round, screening this back porch in is super simple, whether if you do it with the builder or after the fact. Because again, as I've mentioned throughout this video, there's going to be things that you may want to do with the builder. It may make more sense to do with the builder, and there's going to be things that you may just want to do after the fact because it could save you some money. And those are things that I always help provide to you as far as hey, here's what you should do with versus here's what you should not do with the builder, so to speak. But back here, as you'll notice, we do have a nice covered area over here as well. This is a upgrade. This is a structural upgrade addition that you can do with this specific builder with this floor plan. And what it does is it gives you the ability to do an outdoor kitchen here. So we do have our gas grill. We also have our mini fridge, tons of storage underneath. We also have a nice vented hood for the gas grill, which you don't always find. It's great to see that as well. And then it's gonna take us to our covered back extension here. And what's really cool about this is if you're someone who likes to entertain, and for myself, I personally like to entertain, so this is something that I fell in love with right away, is this really does give you some additional space to be able to invite friends or family over. And I can even tell you, when this builder launched this model home and this community in general, they had, many people in here at one time. I was here for it, I saw it, and it doesn't feel claustrophobic at all, and there's tons of space for everyone and anyone. But this is a great space to be able to hang out with friends or family. If you're someone who likes to watch different sports, you like to watch it outside, like for instance for me it's football with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would fall in love with this with the TV here, to have friends over, you get a gas fireplace with it, and overall it's just a great feel. But wait, there is more, as they say. When you do a space like this, they also give you a bathroom off of here, and this is a full-size bathroom for your cabana bath. So not only do we get the vanity, the toilet, which is very typical for most cabana baths, we also get a full-size shower here, which again, they did the tile up to the ceiling, which I do absolutely love. You have the step down here as well with the seamless glass enclosure, so you can just step right down into it. It keeps all the water in. So once you have finished, maybe with yard work, or once you've finished with the pool, which we will get to in a moment, you have that there to be able to wash off before you go inside if you need to. Because again, who wants to go inside smelling like chlorine? Or again, if it's a chlorine pool, or again, if you've been doing yard work, do you really want to go inside all dirty? I know I don't. But overall, just really cool to have that. You don't always get that. And it's also heated and cooled. So it is underneath the same roof line. It is heated and cooled. It is additional square footage. So it's great to have that because it does add value to your home. Then we get to the pool. And as you can see here, this is a beautiful pool. They've really maximized what they could do with it without making it too small to have space for everything else. But this pool, I mean, it's honestly a day like today, I just wish I could jump into it. But this kind of gives you an idea. It goes to show what you can do if you want to have a pool with this builder, because they do offer you that ability to have a pool hot tub combination if you desired. So if you want to know what this pool costs, or what a pool could cost you to live in a neighborhood like this, if you want to do it with the builder, reach out to me and I'll go over all that with you, because that is something that can be very important for you and your family. In addition, as we end this out here, they did also do gutters for the outside of this house. The reason I bring that up is, gutters are something that, if you're watching this in another different state, you may think, okay, yeah, gutters, that makes sense. Well, here in Jacksonville, Florida, gutters are not a requirement for a builder. And so a lot of times those will be an upgrade. So I'd like to always point that out, because it surprises people sometimes when they come here and they find out that it's not a standard. So I like to always make sure that you don't have any surprises and make sure that you have all the details at your disposal when you're making your decision on if Jacksonville's the right fit for you and your family. But with that being said, let's now talk about where we're at today, who the builder is, what this specific model, what the name of it is, and just why this could be that neighborhood or even the floor plan for you and your family here in Jacksonville. What did you think of this model home today? For me, I am just so excited to be able to have, shown you this one today, because this is one of my favorite builders here in Jacksonville, Florida, since they are a more local builder and they are very specific on the consumer experience and really providing the best house possible to you as the consumer. So overall though, it's a great model. Obviously, there's a lot of upgrades in this house. So what I'm gonna mention as far as the price of this house for that base price, what I'm gonna mention for that today is not gonna be what this specific one would cost. This one's definitely gonna be much, much higher. So if you wanna know exactly the cost of this one, let me know. But in general, this is in one of the newest, if not the newest, and definitely gonna be one of the hottest communities here in Jacksonville, Florida. We are in the Mariposa neighborhood, located in the beautiful Everrange community. This Everrange community is located right off of US 1, and it is just north of Nocatee, just south of E-Town. And it's the next big community because of how conveniently located it is. So if you're someone who, let's say you're looking to maybe move here for Mayo Clinic, whether it's to work or go to Mayo Clinic, this is going to put you within 10, 15 minutes away from Mayo Clinic. If you're someone who wants to just be here for the schools, you do have some good schools here, whether if it's private schools or public schools to be able to choose from. But also you're just conveniently located to be able to get to the beach within 15, 20 minutes, to get to the St. John's Town Center in about 15, 20 minutes. And so you have a lot of attraction there as well. But again, why should you move to Jacksonville, Florida? Whether if it's this community or any other community, why are people moving to Jacksonville, Florida and choosing to live here? A big reason for that is the cost of living here in Jacksonville, Florida is still far superior than other major cities in Florida, such as Tampa, Orlando, Miami. So your dollar goes a lot farther here than some of those other major cities, not just for buying a home and living here, but also for common expenses like groceries, gas, whatever the case may be. So that is why we still see a large amount of people constantly moving here to the area, and it's why you yourself may decide to move here as well. So overall, that provides a lot of attraction when it comes to living here. But in addition, people do fall in love with the nature element of Jacksonville. They fall in love with the amount of things you can do around town, whether if it's the more nature trails, or if it's more being on the water or near the water, like at the beach. Because we actually have one of the most diverse park systems in the state of Florida, and we have the most navigable water here in the state of Florida to be able to boat or fish, or the case may be in the area. So there's always things to do, especially in the summertime here in Jacksonville. But as far as the Mariposa neighborhood, this is the first true neighborhood here in Everrange. And Everrange, is going to be that next big community because it's been developed by the Park Group, which is the same developer who developed Nocatee and E-Town as well. So if you want to know more about that, let me know. I like to always just give as much information as possible. But now getting back to this one, why this one? Well, this specific model was built by Dosty Homes, and Dosty Homes is a family builder, that has been building here for quite a while, but they are a local builder as well. And Dosty Homes, like I said, they pride themselves on their attention to detail and on their consumer experience, and really making sure that you have the home that you want at the end of the day. In addition, they constantly are creating new floor plans to be able to fit what you and your family's wants and needs, because floor plans that were good 5, 10 years ago may not be what people want nowadays. So I do appreciate that when it comes to a builder. But in regards to this one, we are actually in their Adonis floor plan. And this floor plan is a 4-bedroom floor plan. It can go up to 6 bedrooms. What we saw today was 4 bedrooms. It's also a 3.5 bath floor plan, but today what we saw was 4.5, because when you do that extension off the back for your outdoor covered retreat, you also get that full bathroom, that cabana bath with it. We also, for this specific plan, we are sitting around 3160, 3150 square feet, somewhere around there. So it's a great size layout, and sometimes it can feel bigger than it really is once you've actually been in it and you walked through it. So I do like that as well. As far as the garage, we didn't see the garage today, but it is a 2-car garage with a bit of a tandem there. Now that tandem's gonna be probably more for a golf cart, but overall, having more storage space there never hurts. Then we get to the price and the incentives, and these things are always subject to change. So it is one of those things that if you want to know what it is right this second as you're watching this video, reach out to me with a call, a text, an email. It's going to be on the screen. There's no reason not to. Or again, if you just want to schedule a time for us to meet face-to-face or through Zoom, in the description of this video, you will have that as well. There'll be a link to my calendar on there. So again, do not hesitate to utilize me, because when you work with me, I am all about making sure that you are taken care of throughout the process. I have great relationships with all the builders, around Jacksonville. And so our goal is always to make sure that you get the best deal possible and get the best fit possible for what you and your family, what your wants and your needs are. So that's a big thing that's very important for me. And that's something I always pride myself in, making sure that you're taken care of in that regard. But getting back to the price incentives, because again, I know that's what you've been waiting for. The price on this one specifically, the base price, is sitting around $780,000, roughly, for that base price. That's not going to include your lot premium. It's not going to include your structural design center finishes. So a lot of what you saw today, would obviously increase the price of this specific floor plan. So again, if you want to know what it is right this second, because it always is subject to change, reach out to me. If you really want to know what you really be looking at for this specific home in this specific neighborhood, I can go over all that as well with you on a phone call. In addition, as far as the incentives, currently Dosty is offering $45,000 to use towards the design center. That is something that makes a huge difference when you're trying to design the home the way you want it. Because in essence, the first $45,000 of upgrades, Dosty is pretty much paying for you to make the house the way you want it. So that is an amazing thing that they're offering. It is not going to be that way forever. It will change. So again, if you want to know what is right this second, do reach out to me. And so that is another great benefit when you're working with a builder like this. But that being said, that is going to wrap up this video. So if you stayed till the end, don't forget to like it, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you guys again on our next model home tour, whether it's here in Mariposa or somewhere else as well.